Be with these leaders, strengthen their families, strengthen their resolve. Give each and every one the miracle of faith that only you can. With humble hearts, we lift these things to you. All glory and honor and praise be to you and you only. Amen.
Our guest speaker today is First Sergeant Alan Myers, the Deputy Commandant at the Strength Maintenance Training Center. First Sergeant Alan Myers was born in Lafayette, Indiana. He lived most of his life in Arkansas and joined the Arkansas Army National Guard in October of 2002. He attended basic training and advanced individual training at Fort Sill, Oklahoma to serve as a fire direction control member. During his career, First Sergeant Myers served as a fire direction control member, military police while deployed to Kosovo, and squad leader. He also served as a recruiting and retention NCO, recruiting station commander, instructor writer, small group leader, recruiting standards branch NCO, aide to the Sergeant Major of the Army, and the 79 Tango proponent NCO. First Sergeant Alan Myers has been assigned to the following units: Battery A, 1st Battalion of the 142nd Field Artillery in Bentonville, Arkansas, the Arkansas Army National Guard Recruiting and Retention Battalion, Strength Maintenance Training Center, National Guard Bureau, Office of the Sergeant Major of the Army, USAREC Recruiting and Retention College, and is currently assigned as the Deputy Commandant at the Strength Training Center of the 79 Tango NCO Academy. First Sergeant Myers' military and civilian education includes the Senior Leaders Course, 79 Tango Conversion Course, Recruiting and Retention NCO Course, How the Army Runs Course, Battle Staff, Master Fitness Trainer, Foundation Instructor Facilitator Course, Air Assault, Army Basic Instructor Course, Systems Approach to the Training Basic Course, Small Group Instructor Training Course, Transition NCO course, and has completed his bachelor's degree in Human Resource Management through Post University. He is currently enrolled in the Master of Business Administrative degree program with a concentration in project management through Louisiana State University. First Sergeant Myers was awarded the Expert Recruiting Badge in 2009 and it awarded the Basic Army Instructor Badge in 2015. First Sergeant Myers is married to Katie Myers and has 2 children, Harper, age 9, and Max, age 4.
Good morning. So I don't like to stand behind the podium, so I didn't get behind the podium. So I would like to first send out a thank you for all the leaders who are here in the audience with us, family members, for Facebook Live who is watching from home, family members, leaders. Thank you very much for attending the SQI4 19-005 graduation. I would like to personally start by saying congratulations. You have made it through the first step it takes to be a recruiting retention NCO for the Army National Guard. With that being said, this is just the foundational start. What you do next will make the difference for your recruiting career. What I mean by that, the schoolhouse can only give you the basic knowledge. Once you get out there and you're put on your own, out 50 miles, 75 miles away from your higher headquarters, your leadership, it's going to be on you to be proactive, to have emotional intelligence, to be self-aware, to realize what you must do each and every day as a representative of the Army National Guard. Because whether you realize it or not, you are all the face of the Army National Guard for your community. You might not even talk to somebody on a Tuesday, but they're going to see you get out of your vehicle and put your cover on. They're going to see how you conduct yourself in that high school when you're just talking with a student or with a faculty and staff member. They're going to be watching and sizing and figuring out what kind of person you are, what kind of character you have. So it is up to you 100% of the time to be professional. Don't let it slip. If you got to, put a little reminder in your phone. Hey, don't forget my cover when I get out of the vehicle. Something like that. Because as you get out there in the community and you're away from a regular line unit, things are going to start to change a little bit. You're going to have a little more freedom. You're going to have a little more control of what you do and where you go. And to me, that is when a person's true character and how they are as a person and their value set is going to come out. Because you don't have that squad leader, that platoon sergeant, that first sergeant sitting there right beside you or in the line unit right next to you saying, hey, don't forget to do this. Hey, did you check this? A lot of you might not even know the kind of ambitions, the kind of work ethic you might have yet. You're still figuring it out. When I started out as an SQI4 recruiter, I was an E4 when I went through SQI4. And then I picked up my E5 when I became a recruiter. Do you think I had figured out some of the basic NCO qualities I needed yet? No, I didn't. But I had the inner personal skills, work ethic to figure it out. I didn't need somebody to sit there and tell me if I said I was going to be at a certain place, I was there. I'm proud of each and every one of you. What you've decided to do is huge. How many of y'all is excited to be a member of the Army National Guard? Every one of you, right? Do you know the career field that you're embarking on right now is the most unique career field for the Army National Guard? And here's why. And it's something that's not talked about a lot. The 79 Tango MOS, if you choose to convert later on down the road, is the only MOS that is truly owned by the Guard. Think about that. 11 Bravo, 11 Charlie, 13 Mike. All the others, the proponency is active Army. But for 79 Tango MOS, it's owned by the Army National Guard. You're working in a career field that is truly Guard-centric. How amazing is that? It's awesome. So take some pride and esprit de corps in that concept and that fact, that you are out there working in a career field that is truly Guard-owned. And we need each and every one of you right now, more than ever. There's thinking traps in recruiting. Trust me, there is a lot of thinking traps in recruiting. And at times, it's going to feel like you might be back in high school because of some situations or some things you might see or hear about in the recruiting command. Don't get caught in those thinking traps. Just like you learned in resiliency class about thinking traps, I'm going to give you a couple extra ones. First one being, recruiting is harder now than when I was a recruiter. It was. Recruiting was harder, is harder now than when I was a recruiter on the streets. But that's part of change. That's part of adapting. That's part of being in the Army. Adaptability. It's okay. Things should be harder. You should want a challenge. You chose one of the most challenging career fields in the Army National Guard. So, of course, you want a challenge. Don't get caught and bogged down in that thinking trap of, oh, it was harder for me than it was for my NCOIC, so, they don't understand what I'm going through. When they started out, when I started out right out of SQI4, it was harder for me at that time. But I still found ways to adapt and overcome and move forward and make the mission happen. It's up to all y'all to do that. It's not an excuse. Another thing, don't get caught up in the concept that the National Guard recruiting forum is going to have all your answers. It is a great tool, but that's what it is. It is a tool for your disposal. But don't get caught up in not opening the regulation for yourself. Get into those regulations. Ask for advice and where to go, but then double check it and read a little more. Interpret it for yourself and make it your own. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. We gave you the fundamental building blocks, but you're going to make your career in recruiting your own. Because unlike any other MOS in the Army National Guard, you have the left and right parameters to create what you want out of this career. They're going to let you do that. They're going to give you some fundamental guides, but then it's up to you to put your own spin and your own personal flavor, so to speak, onto it. So I'll end this by saying once again, congratulations. You're all going to do amazing as long as you decide to be that each and every day. So once again, are you proud of being in the Army National Guard? All right, let's graduate.
Thank you for those words of encouragement for Sergeant Myers. The instructors for 1st Platoon were Sergeant First Class Daryl Gibson and Mr. Howard Goff. At this time, Sergeant First Class Gibson will address his platoon for the last time. The awarding of the diplomas and badges will follow. Please hold your applause until all students have received their diploma.
Morning, 1st Platoon. Here we are. So first off, I'm proud. I'm excited for you in this next of your journey. And for the last 2 weeks, been going over the 10 servant principles of leadership. So today, the last one is persuasion. And what better fitting principle is persuasion? And when you go back out to the OE, America's greatest are going to give you their sons and daughters, and you're going to have to persuade them. So, y'all have any questions? 1st Platoon, prepare to graduate.
Staff Sergeant Bo Abney. Staff Sergeant Joshua Aldridge. Sergeant Raymond Aldridge. Staff Sergeant Kimo Anderson. Sergeant Mason Andres. Specialist Johnny Argeo. Staff Sergeant Aubrey Audetta. Sergeant Morgan Axelson. Sergeant Gustavo Ayala. Sergeant Delta Bailey. Sergeant Nicholas Baldreas. Sergeant First Class Jeremy Bates. Sergeant Dakota Bond. Sergeant Jamie Bethia. Sergeant Leah Bickford. Sergeant Alan Billups. Sergeant Kalani Blackwell. Sergeant Stephen Bowman. Sergeant Joshua Brooks. The 1st Platoon Sergeant is Staff Sergeant Chad Adams. Staff Sergeant Adams will also be receiving a Certificate of Excellence. Staff Sergeant Adams will address the platoon for the last time.
I just want to thank y'all for showing up and being ready every day and making my job easy. I appreciate it.
The instructors for 2nd Platoon were Mr. Heath Strickland and Sergeant First Class Thomas Paul. At this time, Mr. Strickland will address his platoon for the last time. The awarding of the diplomas and badges will follow. Please hold your applause until all students have received their diploma.
Good morning, Second Platoon.
Morning, Mr. Strickland.
We're about to graduate. How neat is that?
That's pretty neat.
It is pretty neat, right? Like I told you in class, being a recruiter, 90% of the time, it's the best job in the world. 10% of the time, it's pretty rough. You know, you have those days you go 0 for 2 at MEPS, 0 for 3 at MEPS. That 10% is what defines you. It'll bring your character out. If you can make it through that 10%, you'll be successful in this job, I promise you. It's up to you. This is the only job that everything is up to you, right? Go home. Okay, let's go home. Go home, take care of yourself, take care of your soldiers, and take care of your family, okay? Second Platoon, prepare to graduate.
Staff Sergeant Vanessa Contreras. Sergeant Clifford Costin. Sergeant Zachary D'Amico. Specialist Ethan Danelli. Sergeant Anthony Davis. Staff Sergeant Charles Davis. Staff Sergeant Thomas DeGeorge. Staff Sergeant Christopher Denman. Sergeant Rowan DeWint. Sergeant Corey Fantozzi. Staff Sergeant Seraphin Flores. Sergeant Ramik Flowers. Sergeant Jacob Fout. Sergeant Jesse Ferrant. Sergeant Austin Fotheringham. Sergeant First Class David Frealdenhoven. Specialist Lino Garcia. Sergeant Nathan Gilbert. Sergeant Jason Gist. Staff Sergeant Dustin Glidden. Sergeant Alexander Goff. The second platoon sergeant is Sergeant First Class Maria Fernandez. Sergeant First Class Fernandez will also be receiving a certificate of excellence. Sergeant First Class Fernandez will address the platoon for the last time.
I'm going to pass the rubric again, Mr. Strickland. Good morning. I'm Sergeant Fernandez. I'm here to give you your graduation speech. It's be about 10 to 12 minutes long. It's not 10 to 12 minutes, but I wanted to just read this really quick to you guys. I put this together because I was thinking about it a lot. So I transferred to the Youth Army National Guard, the recruiting retention battalion, maybe only a month before I came to this class, and I heard a lot of negative things about recruiting. I believe it's because for the longest time it was and still can be perceived. And it's every man for themselves, and you're a recruiter and no longer a soldier. This frustrates me quite a bit because I've poured my soul into 16 years in the National Guard. And I have always loved the structure and the professionalism that comes with wearing this uniform. But somehow recruiting is supposed to be something different, its own kind of beast. I am a soldier and I am an NCO before anything else. There is no other assignment that is more thankless than recruiting duty. Everyone will see you in uniform and thank you for your service, but as soon as they find out you're a recruiter, it might as well be a leper. Sergeant Denman had quite a bit of influence helping me with this 30-second speech. Said it best the other day while in class. He said, I'm an NCO on recruiting duty. This, my brothers and sisters, is the very essence of selfless service. Everything you do and sacrifice while on recruiting duty is for the greater good of our organization. You've just been appointed to guide young adults and place them on a path like you once chose, raising your right hand and swearing to protect this country against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. You never know if the next person you recruit will become the next Sergeant Major of the Army, a Medal of Honor recipient, someone who goes to war and saves lives or kills the next Osama bin Laden. But what is that all worth if we lose ourselves in the meantime? Aside from recruiting the next generation of soldiers that will be in our position in 15 plus years, is remembering what it is to be a soldier and more importantly, a non-commissioned officer. I can't stress to you enough how very crucial it is to police each other up and to guide the NCOs that we work with in recruiting, seniors, peers, and subordinates, to adapt a similar perspective and take pride in giving the gift of service. This assignment will require you to use critical decision-making skills daily with limited time to no supervision. You'll be required to develop yourself professionally as well as personally in order to be successful in this ever-changing recruiting environment. This is a calling and it's not for everyone, but you're here today, and it's an assignment that truly separates those people somehow getting away with wearing stripes from true NCOs. And I really hope that you guys become the latter. It's been a pleasure serving with you.
The instructors for 3rd Platoon were Sergeant First Class Robert Payton and Mr. Robert Herpel. At this time, Mr. Herpel will address his platoon for the last time. The awarding of the diplomas and badges will follow. Please hold your applause until students have received their diploma.
Good morning, 3rd Platoon. Good morning, Herpel. So 5 weeks ago, 23 of you rolled into platoon. It's been a long 5 weeks, right? Ready to get out of here? So I'm not going to take up too much of your time. We had a long 5 weeks. You endured me, and you did well. I'm very proud of you, and your commands are very fortunate to be getting you. So go out there and do great things, and all I got to say is 23 in. 23 out! My bad. 3rd Platoon, prepare, graduate.
Sergeant Skylar Jensen. Sergeant Mario Jimenez. Staff Sergeant Gregory Johnson. Staff Sergeant Ellis Kaser. Sergeant Kyle Kalajian. Specialist Anthony Kirby. Sergeant Nicholas Knight. Sergeant Lucas Cook. Staff Sergeant Clayton Cole. Specialist Zachary Corando. Staff Sergeant Christopher LaFleur. Sergeant Brandon Lemaire. Staff Sergeant Nicholas Lanier. Sergeant Vanessa Larson. Sergeant Daniel Lazier. Staff Sergeant Kyle Lewis. Sergeant Justin Lindsay. Sergeant Kinsey Littell. Staff Sergeant Kenneth Jaorador. Staff Sergeant Matthew Locke. Staff Sergeant Daryl Love, Jr. Specialist Jonah Lubsey. The third platoon sergeant is Staff Sergeant Jason Brown. Staff Sergeant Brown will also be receiving a certificate of excellence. Staff Sergeant Brown will address the platoon for the last time.
Third platoon, you are amazing. I've enjoyed my time with each and every one of you. We started with 23 and we're graduating with 23, right? So that shows the dedication with all you have. But I would like to recognize Staff Sergeant Gregory Johnson from Indiana. He had a 99.3 for the entire 5 weeks. So your dedication is appreciated for helping carry us along. So stay golden.
The instructors for 4th Platoon were Mr. Theodis Riggins and Sergeant First Class Tanya Bushy. At this time, Mr. Riggins will address his platoon for the last time. The awarding of diplomas and badges will follow. Please hold your applause until the students have received their diploma.
Morning, Court. Morning, Mr. Riggins. It's been a real Arkansas pleasure going to this month. Now, we're going to go back home to the operational environment. Some of you will have more productive areas than others. But nevertheless, it's been coming upon you to be successful in conditions for what you find. Also, it said that attitude is 90% of the game. Some of you may have a glass that is half full, and some may have a glass that is half empty. But what matters the most, when that glass is poured out, it pours out. So, no, congratulations for going with Godspeed. Platoon, prepare to graduate.
Sergeant Megan Papagno. Specialist Doris Renee Parr Daniels. Sergeant Robert Passarello. Sergeant Demetris Payton. Sergeant Macaulay Petrello. Sergeant Justin Pichelle. Sergeant Austin Plord. Sergeant Alicia Quackenbush Ramsdale. Staff Sergeant Mark Reed. Sergeant Adam Reinschmidt. Sergeant Nicholas Robson. Sergeant Daniel Rosas. Staff Sergeant Hamilton Ruiz. Sergeant George Shalinas. Staff Sergeant Jimmy Sanchez. Corporal Cameron Santiago. Sergeant Victor Sasser. Sergeant Joshua Staley. Sergeant Jonathan Strother. Sergeant Maxwell Spader. The 4th Platoon Platoon Sergeant is Staff Sergeant Paul Robertson. Staff Sergeant Paul Robertson will also be receiving the Certificate of Excellence. Staff Sergeant Robertson will address the platoon for the last time.
Platoon, been an honor working with you, learned a lot from all of you, very much shoulders, and you rock.
The instructors for 5th Platoon were Mr. Mark Parker and Mr. Travis Lamb. At this time, Mr. Parker will address his platoon for the last time. The awarding of the diplomas and badges will follow. Please hold your applause until all students have received their diplomas.
Fifth Platoon, 23. That's right, but unfortunately, number 23 couldn't be with us today. So on behalf of 5th Platoon, Sergeant Melnick, on Facebook, our thoughts and prayers are with your family during this trying time. 5 weeks ago, I gave you Mr. Parker's 3 tidbits of advice to be a successful recruiter. First one is proper planning. Failure to plan is planning to fail. The second one is continue to follow up. Without continuous follow-ups, your competition is going to take them right underneath your noses. Third, most importantly, is time management. Without proper time management, you got to manage your time for personal and professional development. But most importantly, you got to go ahead and make time for those loved ones that are going to help this mission succeed. But last but not least, some of you still owe me $15.30 in the parking lot. 5th Platoon, prepare to graduate.
Sergeant Alvaro DeLugo. Specialist Cherokee Moss. Sergeant Norman Tabalong. Staff Sergeant Kristen Trimble. Sergeant Trey Troop. Sergeant Daniel Wand. Sergeant Kelsey Ward. Staff Sergeant Cameron Weaver. Sergeant Corey Webb. Sergeant Jaquan Weeks. Staff Sergeant Brent Wink. Sergeant Owen Wilkie. Specialist Jeremiah Williams. Staff Sergeant Larissa Williams. Sergeant Jameson Warto. Sergeant Matthew Wolf. Sergeant Jacob Wright. Sergeant Erica Ukulik. Sergeant Braden Yelland. Sergeant Jordan Young. Sergeant Laura Zerbo. The 5th Platoon Platoon Sergeant is Staff Sergeant Justin Ware. Staff Sergeant Ware will also be receiving a Certificate of Excellence. Staff Sergeant Ware will address the platoon at his last time.
Fifth Platoon, here we are. We finished 23 strong and had no academic losses. I hear that's pretty good. A special thank you to Mr. Parker and Mr. Lamb for their expert
guidance and instruction. And as Mr. Parker always says, let's put some people in boots.
The instructors for 6th Platoon were Mr. William Law and Mr. Tim Smith. At this time, Mr. Law will address his platoon for the last time. The awarding of the diplomas and badges will follow. Please hold your applause for all students to receive their diploma.
All right, good morning, Sixth.
Good morning, Mr. Law.
I really regret not getting together before this and having a chant for this whole process. But like I said at the beginning of this course, right? Everybody's heard of the term of a starving artist, right? Now, has anybody ever heard of a starving scientist? No, it's because it doesn't happen, right? So throughout the past 5 weeks, we've taught you a little bit of the science, those steps that successfully recruiting people. Now, I know once you leave here and get in the operation environment, you're going to start putting in your own kind of art into it. Never stray too far from that science. Otherwise, you're going to end up on an emotional roller coaster of writing a 0 and writing a 3. You want to make sure that you're a consistent recruiter while you're out there. Does that make sense? 6th Platoon, prepare to graduate.
Specialist Jeremy Goodwin. Sergeant Thomas Gordon. Sergeant Christopher Green. Sergeant Hugo Guzman. Sergeant Zachariah Hanlon. Staff Sergeant Ray Harbor. Specialist Renee Harris. Sergeant Joshua Hawk. Sergeant First Class Corey Hawk. Specialist Gary Hawes. Staff Sergeant Daniel Henrick. Sergeant Emily Henson. Sergeant Evan Hoffner. Sergeant Derek Holt. Sergeant Brianna Hopkins. Sergeant Melissa Inslee. The 6th Platoon Platoon Sergeant is Staff Sergeant Alan Harris. Staff Sergeant Harris will also be receiving a Certificate of Excellence. Staff Sergeant Harris will address his platoon for the last time.
6th Platoon, we did it. Keep this short and sweet. Hey, we came here, we had a lot of frustrations, but even more laughs. I sincerely wish you guys the best in your careers and everything life has to offer. We came, we saw, we conquered. 17 strong, ho.
The instructors for 7th Platoon were Sergeant First Class Jessica Hauser and Miss Andrea Norvell. At this time, Miss Norvell will address her platoon for the last time. The awarding of the diplomas and badges will follow. Please hold your applause until all students have received their diploma.
7th. Still here. 21 out on the 21st. Wish it could have been 23, but things happen. We move on. At the beginning, I told you time is your most precious commodity, and I believe that to be very true. I know Sergeant Hauser wishes she could be with us right now, and she sends her regards. So with that being said, 7th Platoon, prepare to graduate.
Staff Sergeant Benjamin Lucas. Sergeant Hunter Marcinek. Sergeant Sean Marler. Sergeant Jose Martel. Staff Sergeant Jonas Martin. Sergeant Kyle McCardle. Sergeant Christian McCullum. Sergeant McKenna McCullough. Sergeant James McNair. Sergeant Rodney McNair, Jr. Sergeant Michael Melendez Rivera. Specialist Jamie Maglarero. Sergeant Timmy Miller. Sergeant Sang Moi. Sergeant Kyle Mumby. Sergeant Brendan O'Day. Staff Sergeant Crystal Odom. Sergeant Lucas Ortiz. Sergeant Nicholas Orvino. Staff Sergeant William Owens. The 7th Platoon Sergeant is Sergeant First Class Nicole McElhaney. Sergeant First Class McElhaney will also be receiving a Certificate of Excellence. Sergeant First Class McElhaney will address the platoon for her last time.
7th, Rah!
The instructors for 8th Platoon were Sergeant First Class Sean Griffin and Mr. Mark Giese. At this time, Sergeant First Class Griffin will address his platoon for the last time. The awarding of the diplomas and badges will follow. Please hold your applause for all students to receive their diploma.
The Legacy course has served the recruiting and retention community for several years. It has taught thousands of recruiting and retention NCOs. It has taught directors, 54 award winners. It has trained some of your NCOICs, and has trained many of your peers and office partners. You've been empowered by training that is tried and true. It has provided you a foundation that you will build on and make your own. And someday, some of you will be Directors 54 award winners, and some of you will be NCOICs. With that being said, the Strength Maintenance Training Center has worked tirelessly with education professionals, subject matter experts from the 54 states and territories to develop a new course. Thousands of hours of hard work and research to design the new curriculum, because the price of doing the same old thing is far higher than the price of change. 5 weeks ago, we were ready to select 25 soldiers to be the very first future corps students. 8th Platoon had more exams, more performance evaluations, and a lot more written assignments. 17 total assessments over a 25-day course. And if you ask 8th Platoon, they'll tell you I'm not very good at math, but that's about one assessment every day and a half. At times, I could see they were even drowning in homework. In fact, I'll never forget the looks on their faces last Friday when I assigned 2 papers at 1700. And when they asked me when they were due, I had to hold up a sign that said, seriously, they're due Monday morning. Yet they persevered, as they have done through the entire 5 weeks. And I'm incredibly proud of these NCOs. I couldn't have asked for a better group of students to pioneer the future of SQI4. So congratulations, 8th Platoon, and thank you for your hard work and your patience. Always remember your experience here, for you're not just the future course, but you're the new legacy.
Eighth platoon, prepare to graduate.
Specialist Robinson Brooks. Staff Sergeant Sean Brooks. Staff Sergeant Richard Brown. Specialist Francis Burgos. Staff Sergeant Charmaine Burton. Sergeant David Butler. Sergeant Tyler Canada. Staff Sergeant Devin Canty. Staff Sergeant Mary Carter. Sergeant Manuel Castor. Staff Sergeant Ewi Capita. Sergeant Joseph Chandler. Sergeant William Christopher. Sergeant Kaylee Chihawk. Sergeant Jeremy Sissel. Staff Sergeant Bo Clark. Staff Sergeant Camille Clay. Staff Sergeant Louis Clement. Sergeant Zachary Cochran. Sergeant Alberto Cortez. Specialist Marco Palomar. The 8th Platoon Platoon Sergeant is Sergeant First Class Mark Brown. Sergeant First Class Brown will also be receiving a Certificate of Excellence. Sergeant First Class Brown will address his platoon for the last time.
All right, 8th Platoon. I had this whole speech prepared to a whole bunch of people went before me, all right? A lot of things have been said today. You guys have been amazing. I'd like to thank our instructors for their time, their patience, the opportunity for them to let me be up here and have the platoon. It's been great. You guys have networked with each other. You guys have built relationships. You need to keep those relationships going forward. These are the people in the hard times you're going to reach out to, look back on. They will help you find success. All right. Thank you, 8th Platoon. Be safe on your travels home.
At this time, we will recognize the soldiers with the highest academic average, or as we call it, the Distinguished Honor Graduate. The Legacy Distinguished Honor Graduate is Sergeant Zachary D'Amico. He has an overall academic average of 97.9. The Future Course Distinguished Honor Graduate is Staff Sergeant Charmaine Burton with an overall academic average of 99%. The student First Sergeant Young Hall is Sergeant First Class Bates. Sergeant First Class Bates will be receiving a certificate of excellence, and then he will address his class for the last time.
Well, here we are. Congratulations there, fellow students. My name is Sergeant First Class Jeremy Bates, and I've been privileged to act as the First Sergeant for First through Fourth. I want to take this time to thank my platoon sergeants. Appreciate your hard work and you guys holding your platoons down. You did a well job. And for the students, we're here. Not all of us made it, but most of us made it. I learned a lot from a lot of students as well. E4 is helping E7s, you know, E5 is helping E6s, vice versa. I felt like we worked as a team. I hope you guys continue to work as a team when you get back to your home station. This is a very challenging course. With that being said, I'd like to thank the staff, not just the instructors, but Master Sergeant Fawcett and you know the J6, the supply, everybody who's behind the scenes who put an effort towards this class. It definitely shows, and I think we all learned from it, and we grew today or these last 5 weeks from it. So thank you. Appreciate it.
The student First Sergeant for Lexington Hall is Sergeant First Class Hawk. Sergeant First Class Hawk will also be receiving a certificate of excellence. Sergeant First Class Hawk will have the opportunity to address his class for the last time.
I'll try to make this short. It's been a interesting 5 weeks, to say the least. We lost 9, most of them from my own platoon, but that's all right. I have no doubt that those of us graduating today are going to be outstanding and awesome recruiters. It's been an honor to be your class First Sergeant. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the graduates will now have 5 minutes to choose someone to pin their newly awarded badge.
Get over here, buddy.
I'll go back.
That's why I tell
Normally, like if I was in a hurry, I can and then I would go back home later. But she like,
Meg.
Hey, look at this one of these smart guys. You graduated I looked at my class. Hey, thank you, Mr. Burke.
Graduates, you have 1 minute remaining.
What are you talking about? I gotta go back to the office. Yeah. Not ever since. Right back to work. Back on the bus. You got the next class.
Please take your seats. Please take your seats.
You're saying you're naked. I said so.
There are 2 more awards that the Strength Maintenance Training Center would like to present. We would like to recognize our soldiers with the highest Army Physical Fitness Test Score, or as we call it, the Iron Soldier Award. The Legacy Iron Soldier is Sergeant Michael Melendez Rivera with a total score of 300 points on the APFT. The future class Iron Soldier is Sergeant Jeremy Sissel with a total score of 300 points on the APFT. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Class 19-005 Army National Guard Non-Career Recruiter Course graduates. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the exit of the official party.
Class 19-005, you are dismissed.